Okay, so here I am. I'm here today, and I'm just talking about whatever. I don't like the way my glasses look, but you know what happened to me? I've been thinking about making videos for a long time, and I'm like waiting for everything to be perfect. Like I want to get the perfect outfit, and I want this thing to be gone away. This is not a zit. It's not cancer. It's just like a cyst, and it creates what it looks like a zit, but it won't go away. I had one in my ear once, and I don't know. I have to. I want this gone, and that was what I was waiting for to make my first video. And I'm balding, and so I would want my hair and my head to look better than this. And so since I'm balding, I started shaving my head, and so I started shaving my head. I started getting freckles on my head, and it's to me it's embarrassing, but I see them on other people, and I think nothing of it. But me, I'm like freckles on my head. And of course, I would not want to be wearing this t-shirt. I have lots of shirts nicer than this. But I was laying in my bed right here, and God said to me, start now. And so I did. And I was trying to go on the live streaming feature, but it won't let me start till tomorrow. But I'm going to start today then. And what I want to talk about, well, I have lots of things that I want to talk about now. There's like lots of different directions I could go with like making videos. And I think what I really want to talk about first is my sobriety. My current sobriety date is August 31st, 2020, and I'm hoping it's my last sobriety date. Um, but what I wanted to talk about was how different my three sobrieties have been. My first sobriety date was in '98. I think it was September 21st, 1998, and I had a real problem with alcohol. And before that date, I was well in, was I 30 yet? I was just about 30, 31, somewhere around there. And all through my 20s, I started drinking like a little bit here, a little bit there. And, I was working at Disneyland at the time on weekends. And so it wasn't really a problem. But what happened is when I stopped working on the weekends, that's when it became a problem. And I would go out on the weekends instead of working Saturday night, which to me, I was happy working Saturday night. And I didn't realize until I wasn't working Saturday night all the fun I was missing. Um, and that's another story, always wondering about what you're missing. So it's like, why did Dorothy go over the rainbow? It's because, and why is the grass greener on the other side of the fence? It's just like there's always got to be something better out there somewhere. But anyway, I never felt that when I was working Saturday nights. It was all I knew, really. And then I started going out, and then, I didn't want to just go out to the bar. I wanted to go out to the most fun bar. But I was still a little uncomfortable, like talking to strangers and meeting people. And so what I thought would help me was a drink. And so I'd have a drink. And it helped me with that problem. It did. It helped me go up and talk to people and not be embarrassed. However, there was another little problem with that I didn't see at the time. Um, I didn't see that I was a mess when I would go up to talk to people and they would want nothing to do with me. And, you know, I took that as I'm not attractive. They don't want to talk to me because I'm not attractive. And although that may have been true, that wasn't the reason they didn't want to talk to me. Because some of the people I found out later did think that I was attractive. But they didn't want to talk to me because I was a mess. And who wants to talk to someone who's like a big drunkard? So, but I still had some friends at the time that would hold my hand and stuff. And they said, you just need to control your drinking. You just need to control your drinking. So I'd be like, yeah, that's what I need to do. And so, what happened was like the harder I tried to control it, the worse I got. I would black out quicker. It would be more severe. I would have longer periods of time where I couldn't remember what happened. Um, that the last time, one of the last times, I woke up and I had a band-aid on my head. I'm like, I don't even remember injuring myself. And then I couldn't find my car. I'm like, is my car lost? Or my car stolen? Where is my car? So, and it was just like things like that, and who did I talk to, and who did I meet, and how, everything, and like it would be like it was pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization is what it was, and so so finally, I just, I was surrendering. I had to quit, but I didn't know if I wanted to quit for good. And this is my first sobriety, what I'm talking about. And so I investigated AA, and I'm like shopping around, and I didn't know if I, wanted to quit for good, or I just wanted to like, be able to control my drinking. That's what I really wanted. I wanted to be able to control my drinking when I was that age. So, but my my goal was 6 months. I wanted to, 6 months clean and sober, and then after that, I would be able to decide, what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. But I was going to pledge to the 6 months clean and sober, and I got it. And things started to go better, and I started to pray. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll keep doing this. Now, I didn't really get into the big book. I mean, I went to meetings. I went to a lot of meetings. I loved the meetings, but I didn't really read the big book. I really didn't. I did some of the steps, but not really. I was just kind of like just going to meetings, and sharing at my first meeting was a big deal for me, because talking about my my past and all the things I've done that are embarrassing were just something that I didn't want to do, and it's not something that society tells us that we should do, something like that. So so yeah, talking at the first meeting was a huge step. And so, all these things together, I was doing some of the 12 steps, and I definitely had found a God, and I went back to God, and I was praying every now and then. But I still thought that, real a real happy life would involve me being able to have a glass of wine with dinner, or if someone was, presenting a real new drink, like at a celebration at my 50th birthday or something, they wanted to buy me a drink, I should be able to drink it. And so that was always kind of in the back of my mind, that I wanted to live a normal life, and I wanted to be able to drink normally. And so, I got like probably over 5 years with that sobriety, I think. Yeah, somewhere around 5 years. And then I started to go out like a little bit. I'd have a drink here and there. And I was able to control it for a while, but then it came right back. And I just, I went and bought a bottle of, I think it was Jack Daniels and Vaughn's. And I went got a motel, because I didn't want to be in my building and be like all drinking and shit. Um, but I was in that motel maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And that's all I remember. And that's when I woke up the next morning. And so this time I was desperate, and I was realizing that I'm not going to be able to drink like a gentleman. And so I went back to AA, and I got a sponsor that was much older than me. Um, he's 68 now, and I'm 53, so I guess it's 15 years. But yeah, I definitely was a lot more into it, and I was realizing some of the things that I had to give up, you know, in sobriety. And so I did, and I got even farther in life, and blessings, kept coming, and it was really nice. But I still had that idea that I wasn't normal. And there were certain things that I was doing, mostly like sexual, um, that I didn't really want to give up. I saw other people doing without punity, without, anything bad happening. And so I was like, well, I could do it too. I could go on Grindr, and I could, meet people and, do stuff. And what's the harm? We're two consenting adults. Um, and so I never really picked up the Bible before that, I had some Bible studies here and there, and I would listen to the readings at church, but um, I didn't realize, how spelled out it is in the Bible that that's wrong, and that the downfall of like all these civilizations, rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall in the Bible, a lot of it is due to sexual immorality, and so, well, at least that's one of the things they do. And so, what I think God was trying to paint in the picture of the Bible, and I'm kind of jumping back and forth here because this is something I read now, is that there's a certain things that happen to these societies every time it's the exact same things, and they become corrupt and they become deceitful. They make the innocent pay for the guilty, and the guilty just rise to power and shit like that. And but I had never really picked up the Bible in my first sobriety or my second sobriety. And but I read the big book a little bit more in my second sobriety, and I was able to definitely relate with it more, and I got a lot more sober friends, and it was fine. However, um, when I became HIV positive, that was just a blow for me. And I'm using it as an excuse. I am. And I still, when I was still on Grinder those days, I would look at people partying, and I'm like, maybe that's the answer. And so I picked up a drug, and someone else offered it to me once. It wasn't like I'm going to go buy drugs today. Someone handed it to me, and I did it. And so that was kind of something that happened to me, and so it kind of felt good at the time, and so it's what I started doing with other people. I would just offer them a hit. I didn't really think of it as being a big bad thing, but I did. In the back of my mind, I was like, oh, should I really be doing this? But most of the guys, they had already tried it many times, and when you are using that drug, it's your solution. And so, if it was my solution, if it was what made me feel better, these guys should feel better too because of it. And I knew the the desperation that can come with that, and I was lucky enough to be able to still afford it. And then if they wanted it, I saw it as helping them. So now I know a lot of people don't feel that way, and I don't feel that way anymore, and I don't want to do that anymore. Um, and that's one of the that's the good news. That is the good news right there. Is that I don't want to do that anymore. I want to love and serve the Lord. And so since I want to love and serve the Lord, I don't want to do anything that's offensive to him, including that, including this. I'm just giving it all up this time. So, so the second sobriety, yeah, I still held back. But now the third sobriety, I was just like shattered, shattered. I couldn't see past going into rehab. Going into rehab was like the end for me. It was the last house on the block. And since I had been through so much before that, so betrayed and so backstabbed, and went through so many best friends that ended up betraying me, I was like, what's the use? This rehab thing, it's just going to come to the same thing. And I had another thing going. God had other plans because I went to Covenant Hills in San Clemente. And if I would have sat down and looked, let me check out all the rehabs and see which ones I want, and it's got to be in this location, and it's got to be offering this, I would have never gone. So the day I asked for help, I was just crying in the kitchen when I just spontaneously started crying because everything just hurt me so bad. The way that my life had become had hurt me so bad. I just started crying in the kitchen. I was about to have a bowl of cereal, and I just started crying. My mom was there, and she said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What can I do to help?" And bless her heart, she gave me a Xanax. um, so, but but then Xanax was not my thing, so I was like, okay, whatever, and it helped. It helped me, calm down and go back to sleep while she called around to rehab centers and something about Covenant Hills. It rang a bell. It rang a bell. I just knew. I told her anything, any rehab center you can find, including this one, and in like down by Lake Elston or somewhere that they had, found before. I was like, any of them, and they're like, well, they want you to call. I'm like, I can't call. I can't even get out of, get off the couch here. And so they called for me, and then they handed me the phone, and for the Covenant Hills one, and I talked to her, and she's like, I want to help. I want to help. So I ended up in detox a few that later that day, and I went to Covenant Hills like 3 days later. And I remember I went up to, the room I had was like kind of down in like the lower level. I would call it the basement, but it's not like a basement. It's just in the back, and it's like, it's got this nice garden patio out front. So there's definite advantages to that room. It's like more like, um, secluded and peaceful, and there's a lot of hummingbirds that went by, and we would see raccoons and bees, a lot of bees, and but it was also somewhere that people could tend to isolate. And believe me, I tried. The first day I was there, because I got there like around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and the whole crowd was out to they were in like a little Duffy boat ride of Newport Harbor. And so I'm like there by myself, and they all get back. And I'm like bombarded with all these people. Like, yeah, they're like, "Hi, my name is, I'm from Alabama. Here's my name on my mail here." And I was like kind of bombarded. And then it was dinner time, and I'm like, I had gone down to my room, and I didn't know what time dinner was. So someone had to come get me for dinner, and so I was like the last one up there, and so everyone knew there was a new guy, and I was like, walking up there, and I kind of had my head hanging down, and they all like, who's good with it? It was me and this guy named Todd, because we were both in the dungeon. It was both our first days, and so they were checking us out. Who are they? Who are they? What kind of condition are they in? How old are they? Because kind of how old you are kind of depended on what drug you used. There were a lot of young ones, and they did like fentanyl. But someone old like me, they figured probably wasn't a fentanyl user because, But anyway, I went. Then after dinner, I went back down into my unit, and I was starting to like fall asleep because someone had told me that that meeting that night was optional. I'm like, oh, good. Well, I'm not going. Optional. So I go down to my room, and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? I guess I'm just gonna lay on the couch and be depressed because there's no TV, no radio, nothing down there, and so there's really nothing to do except read a book or like watch the hummingbirds. And so, but nope. Downstairs they came. They're like, okay, it's meeting time. I'm like, oh, I thought it was optional. They're, no, 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 you got to go up. And so I was like, oh, okay. And I put on my shoes, and I'm walking upstairs, and go out. And the meeting's like on the patio because it's an indoor-outdoor setting, and they've got two apartment complexes, like with 4 apartments each, and they're facing each other, and they had got a little courtyard in the middle. And the menu was outside, and like all the guys were already there. I was the last one there, and they had sure have the one chair, and they're like, here's your seat here. And I'm like, and so I was like, okay, let me go over it because I didn't want to meet anyone. I didn't want to hear any of their stories or anything. But then, props out to Blake from Alabama. Blake started sharing. He was the secretary of the meeting at the time, and instantly he gave me hope. Instantly with what he was talking about, because he was a man talking about doing the right thing and being retrospective and being, thoughtful and courteous and trying to be a better person and live a better life and do the right thing. And these were all things that I was looking for when I was using drugs and alcohol. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for someone that could be my friend, and I just couldn't find it. And there I am in rehab, and there he was, and he ended up being my roommate when I went to the transition house later. And we became pretty good friends. But I don't have his number now, so it's kind of a bummer. But I think I think I will be in touch with him again someday at some point in time. I'm not sure when or where, but that's what God tells me because he's a good guy, and he's 38, and he may stumble. He stumbled when he was there. There was a story about him jogging. He went out jogging a lot, and he went to Ralph's and bought a bottle when he's at the rehab center. From that point on, there was no more jogging. No more going out for jogs. That's for sure. But he was cool. He just very thoughtful, and everyone there looked up to him. And not everyone looked up to me because I was just this old man. And, they see old man as like being kind of a stupid. What's he doing here at his age? But if you're 30s, and Blake was like very healthy and had a great physique, and he was very personable. I can't say enough good things about Blake, and I hope that he's doing well, and he has beautiful kids. Actually, I just heard his kids. We were going to a movie one day when I was at the transition house, and he was in the back, and he was FaceTiming his kids because one of them had a birthday, and he was asking him if he liked his presents, and it was really heartwarming. But anyway, he immediately gave me hope that day, and I needed it. And the longer I was there, which it seemed like a really long time, that was like the slowest 30 days of my life, let me tell you. But every day, all the guys there, one at a time, they would give me hope. They would give me hope. And because I felt a connection with them, I felt like, we're stuck here in this rehab together. And we're all like in the greatest crisis of our lives. And we're feeling really down in the dumps. And so what do? We tell each other the story. We try to cheer them up, and it works. And it's really a bonding experience, not one that you can get anywhere else. You can't get it if you haven't hit bottom and have this whopper of a story to tell. You can't bond like the way you can at a rehab center. And those of you that have gone, you know what I'm talking about. But so it's a really special bond, and with all the guys there, I am their friend for life, and I'm sure that I am they're my friends, I'm their friend. You can't break that bond now. I feel like they would never cheat, lie, steal from me just because, and I know that with 99% certainty. There's nothing certain, and if they went back to drinking and using again, I would still be their friend. I'd be cautious around them, but I would still be their friend. For sure, for sure. But the difference in this third sobriety is that I just left everything behind. I didn't want to do anything that would offend God. And I picked up the Bible again. And I picked up the big book, and I read all the first 164 pages by the time I left the inpatient. And I started reading the Bible because when they brought us to church, they brought us to Calvary Chapel, San Clemente. Big shout out. Holland Davis is pastor. I've really never talked to him about in depth, just saying hi and bye. But I went to church every week because it was like, what else am I gonna do? Sit around the patio, smoking, even though I didn't smoke, playing, what is the name? Cornhole. You could play cornhole, you could play ping pong, you read a book, so that gets old. Oh, they like to play Kings in the Corner, which is kind of funny because it was my aunt's old team. But anyway, or they might let us into the TV room. That was a big thing. But then it would be like the basketball game of Alabama State, whatever, the Crimson Tide. I'm like, so I went to church every Sunday, and that changed my life. I'm telling you, it was the deciding factor. Everything they did at Covenant Hills was wonderful, and I'm just glad that I paid attention, and I did everything that they told me to do. I didn't say, well, if it was optional. Remember, at first I was like, nah, I'll pass. After that, I was like, everything, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And it was mostly just to get off of that, property. I'm like, sitting around, I'd rather go, it was like usually the beach or church or a meeting, and they were all optional. And so, but I was always like, yeah, this is man, yeah, I'm going. And so I did everything, and I'd say the deciding factor was church because it got me to pick up that Bible again, and it got me to see that the Bible is there for me to relate to. I never got that before. I never saw myself in any of the characters of the Bible before, mostly because I didn't read it and didn't really know what was in it. But that first day at church, they were talking about, we were in Leviticus, and I was like, Leviticus, oh, that was boring. Why did I have to come when they were in Leviticus? Couldn't it be a gospel? Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, or some Genesis or Revelation or some Leviticus? But it talks about the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur and how that's a day of atonement. And I'm like, well, I could use one of those. That's for damn sure. And so I just listened, and I think I want to go back to that lecture that day. That would have been the first Sunday in September. And when I got back to the compound, when I got back to residential, I picked up my Bible that they gave me for the first time, and I started reading in Leviticus some of the stuff he was talking about, and I started reading more Leviticus. And in the Bible they gave us, it would have like helpful hints in the margins. And so I was reading one of those and talking about scapegoats. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Because in Yom Kippur, they have two goats, and one is sacrificed, and one they lay all the sins of the people on, and that one is like, that has banned, and it has to go into the wilderness. It gets to live, but it has to go out into the, they always use the word wilderness. The wilderness. And it's like, they bring it far out into the wilderness so it can never find its way back. I don't know whatever happens to these goats. I don't know. Probably some other tribe finds them. They're like wondering why all these things are. No, I don't know. But so yeah, I was identifying with being a scapegoat in my building and some other areas of my life that maybe I'll talk about at a different time. Um, but the scapegoat thing, it had like in the bottom it says, please, for more information, please see page blah blah blah, blah Ecclesiastes blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, let me turn to Ecclesiastes, and I was like, what? What? That's exactly what I went through. What? And then it was like, okay, turn to Psalms. And I turned to Psalms. I'm like, wait a minute. This is what I went through as well. In two different places. Romans. What? It's all over the Bible. What I went through is all over the Bible. And I never knew it. I never knew that I would be able to relate to all these characters in the Bible. So, like, to a T. Some of them were to a T. Some of them were, like, a little bit different, but I knew the feeling that they were talking about. The feeling of lost hope and, like, restoring everything to justice and the upside down. We're living in an upside down world and everything. And I just fell in love with it. And now I can't get enough of it. And I hesitate to say that in an AA meeting because it might scare people away. Jesus saves, Jesus saves. Because I would have been like, oh. But now I believe it's true. And, I would encourage anyone to, talk to me about that and about how the reason that I am so Christian now is because it's really the only one of the, at least I think from what my limited research has been, it's one of the only religions that really goes after those low lives. Would that be me? I kind of think so. But and gives them a chance at redemption and saves their sins. A lot of those other religions, they dismiss the prostitutes, they dismiss the tax collectors, they dismiss the thieves. When they can all be saved, they can still all be saved. Everyone in this earth that still is here has a chance to be saved. Just repent, and God will forgive you if you keep his commands. He will continue to forgive you and continue to bless you and bless you and bless you in ways that you would never imagine abundantly. And it's things that are not of this world. It's nothing material. He didn't give me anything material. It's all in here. And it's all about finding beauty, and it's about relating to other people and helping other people and feeling productive and feeling like I make a difference in someone's life again. And I didn't even know that's what I was searching for, but I found it. And I, the blessings I'm sure are going to continue to happen, and that's why I'm here today, talking to you. And I've gone over 30 minutes now, and that's a little bit too long, I think. But it's just something that I kind of needed to share, and God told me to do it today, right now, dressed in this t-shirt with this thing showing, and my bald head and my freckles showing, and in my childhood bedroom, yay! And one other thing, I get to always be myself, and so that's why I could act so hokey on here and not worry about who likes me and who doesn't, because it doesn't really even matter. You could love me, you could hate me too, and I still will make these videos. So that's it for today. Oh, what does Holland say? And all those that you love, and especially those who nobody loves. Peace out. No, I guess really that should be a prayer. I should pray at the end of all these. And I just say real quickly, God, thank you. That's what my sponsor told me. That could be your prayer, your whole prayer. God, thank you. Good night. But thank you for allowing me to be of service to whoever sees this video. And thank you for entering into my life and allowing me to experience things that I never thought mattered to me anymore. And for opening my eyes and for opening my heart and for letting me be a new person. And thank you, God, for that. And for those that you love, I got to get that down from Holland. For those that you love, and especially those that nobody loves. And over and out. Thanks, guys. See you again soon.